Hello everybody and welcome to this playthrough for Pro and Expert Division with various wins. Before we have a closer look at all the content here in this video, make sure that you do hit the thumbs up button, also subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. Doing those three things doesn't cost you a dime and it helps the channel immensely. For those of you that do want to invest more in your game and become a better player quicker, then you can scan the QR code here on the screen or use the link that is in the description down below, patreon.com/golfclashtommy. And for those that are looking for more free content as well, our website golfclashtommy.com is the place where you can find loads and loads on loads of free content to learn from. Follow the info box on the right hand side to get to the club distance adjustment, elevation adjustment, also a ball and club type I suggest you to play with. Have in mind that those are all suggestions and you don't have to follow it if you don't want to, but there's always a plan behind it. So let's go to hole number one. On the drive on hole number 9, we're starting at complete max distance with quarterback 9 or 10. 3 left spin and 1 top spin, half of the red ring inside the rough. Adjustment is going to be maximum distance with a 10% over adjustment. And once we have adjusted, we shall apply outside wall left curl. Perfect ball it is, and we're looking to get somewhere around 322 to 325 yards. We do want to have that roll out, the roll just past the shadow. If you do want to, you can play with a power 4 or a power 5 ball. What that will do is to ensure that you on the second shot always have the plus yardage, so you're not going to have to struggle with a shorter drive. And now I actually recommend that because we never know if we're going to have a short drive, or let's say like this, we never know if we're going to mess up the drive. Then it would be better to just make sure that you do have all the distance possible with either a power 4 ball or a power 5 ball. Because you can see here now on the second shot that we are close to the max line with sniper 10. And sniper 9 here would be more or less at the max line when we're setting this one up. So the trick here now for this one is to use the top of the yellow ring to be just by the edge of the shadow. And then we're going to use 3.5 top spin, and we're going to use whatever left spin that gets the ball guideline to go 1 green square left of the pin. Adjustment is going to be minus 20% elevation. And we're going to use plus 9 as a base for sniper 10, which is 92% slider with that. The goal here now is to go get the ball guideline to go as close to the pin on the left hand side, because the more left we're coming, the more risk we have to miss on the right hand side. And I don't know if you were focused on my pull angle, but I did play with a pretty decent 1159, which is the reason why I'm missing just on the right hand side, because my ball come way too far on the left hand side and will so miss. So if you do everything correct, this is a really good chance. Unfortunately, this is the best replay I do have after many replays being messed up by the replay glitches in this game. But very good chance here on the second shot on hole number 9. For hole number 9 and option number 1, we are going to play with the rock to lay up on the right hand side. The reason this is going to be option number 1 is because we're going to have 1 play in crosswind and headwinds and 1 play in tailwinds. So max plus 10, we're using 4 bars of top spin and all the side spin to the left possible. And I'm using the rock here, so even if I'm using overpower with the rock, it has such a massive and good accuracy that even with some great balls here, we will still be safe. The goal here is to get the ball to be close to the rough, but not close enough so we're endangering rolling into it. Second shot, we play with our sniper, and here we can do 2 ways. 1, we can go for a rough bump if we do have the distance enough, or 2, we're going to bounce on the fairway before the rough. And I would say this is the more likely way of playing it if we do have a headwind. In crosswinds or maybe a slight tailwind on the second shot, the rough bump I would say is definitely going to be a very valid play to play. So 10% elevation, true club distance, spin to be just through the hole in headwind. In crosswind, spin to pin, so we're not going in and coming into hot. And then we do have a perfect ball here in the end, and we are obviously crossing our fingers to get this one drop for an albatross. When the camera turns around, we know it's going to be close. Will it drop? Yes, it does this time, and that's a nice one to have in our back pocket if we do have a crappy wind here. So option number one, we do have a sniper, or like a rock and a sniper play, and then we're going to take a look at a little bit more aggressive play with a very good chance to succeed for an albatross if the wind is correct from tee. Hole number 6 is going to be a really tough par 5 to get anything else than an eagle on. I would say that in more or less every type of wind, this is going to be a fight for an eagle. The only time it wouldn't be a fight for an eagle, or we can actually secure the eagle easily and get ourselves an albatross attempt, is if we do have tailwind of tee. But that's not the case now. So having a crosswind, I want you to push as far down the fairway possible with your drive. I'm using all the top spin that I can, all the right spin that I can. I'm using a power 5 ball and going max overpower. The goal here is to clip the rough with my second bounce to roll out on the fairway, and now I do have a way of transport the ball to green. If having a headwind, you're going to have to use a driver with a lot of curl, playing it down the right side of the fairway, because we cannot reach over the water in the rough that is just straight forward. So this is, depending on what wind you have of tee, could be a very difficult par 5 to play. So now second shot, you can see here now that even if we do have a power 5 ball, and even if we went max overpower and pushed it on the drive, we're still not being able to reach over the rough patch and bounce the ball up towards the green. So now you do have two suggestions here, or a choice between two things, which is one, to go for a rough bump and just use all the topspin that you have to roll the ball to green, or that you use what I do here and just more a controlled way by bouncing on the fairway with less topspin, with in case a little bit of backspin, and just securing the eagle. Playing the shot that I'm doing here in the video is not going to result into an albatross if you're not super duper lucky, and that's the same with a rough bump, because the rough bump is very glitchy, and that's going to be very dependent on hitting the same and correct spot every time if you're going to drop that one for anything else than an eagle. Hole number 9, here we really want to have some tailwind. Why is that? It's because we do want to reach over the water, rough and sand on the left hand side. Having to play on the right hand side is going to make this albatross chance much less. I mean, it's still going to be a chance, but it's going to be much less likely to drop. So what we're doing is that we use the club with the most power. We use as much topspin that we can, and in this instance I'm keeping myself with a Titan ball just to show that it's makeable. So I do make the adjustment max plus 10, then I'm pushing up to max and using whatever I believe then is the needed overpower. Sure, you can go max overpower, you can see how much room we have on that fairway, but I obviously want to use as little overpower as possible to make sure that I can hit perfect as well with that needle. Those of you that have the possibility to play with a power 4 or a power 5 ball should do that. This because you will then be able to start higher up, and that could, if the wind angle is good for you on the drive with some tailwind, is my point, then you can stay away from actually needing any sort of overpower at all. Second shot, you can either bounce on the fairway or you can do a rough bump. It's all down to personal preference. The bounce up, the only thing to think about there is that you have to have a little bit more, what can I say, you have to have some distance control, because it's otherwise very easy to go in between clubs. When it comes to the sniper rough bump here that we're doing, you have a bit more room and can kind of smash the ball down there in a bigger extent. Comes onto the green and we're dropping nicely for an albatross. Take your game to the next level with our Ultimate Tournament text guides for Expert and or Master Division for the Go Long tournament here in Golf Clash. It's going to be a fun 18-hole tournament with tailwinds on all par 5 holes. This is going to be super interesting to see who will be the first one to break minus 50. To get yourself there and to get yourself a chance to break your personal record when it comes to getting a good scorecard, you sign up on patreon.com/golfclashtommy via the link in the description down below or scanning the QR code. In expert and master, not or, but in expert and master, you will be able to play with free to play balls, and you will be able to use paid balls on every single hole to get yourself through the holes in the way you want it to be. For hole number 6 of the Eagle Peak, we are going to play down to the fairway pad. That's the most common way of playing this par 5, especially as that opens up a clear view and an open spot to go for the rough bump on approach. If having to lay up on the right side of the fairway, which could make you forced to be doing that if you do have a bad headwind or you just don't have clubs that is developed high enough to get over to the pad. But to get over to the pad, you don't really need to have much. You are going to have to at least use a power 6 ball. We do want to use as much topspin possible, really, and then overpower if necessary. 20% elevation, and as we play from max distance, we go with max numbers. Either you do a single bounce over the big rough patch, or you are double bouncing and then getting over the rough patch. It all depends on what ball you can use, what club you can use, and also especially what wind you have off tee. Second shot, now we're going with our sniper, trying to go for a rough bump. And you can see all the trees here. Now, when we are at this fairway pad, we do have an open view and can attack aggressively for the albatross. If we then have to lay up on the right-hand side with our drive, then we have all the trees in our face, and that's going to be very problematic when trying to go for the pin on the second shot, because we always want, even if we may not get it, but we always want to have as good chance possible for an albatross. I'm zooming in quite a bit here to make the adjustment. This as the trees are otherwise covering my adjustment view. That is when I have this type of wind angle. Obviously, if having a headwind or a left to right type of wind, then we will not have the tree in our face at all. Minus 10% elevation is what we're using here. So we are technically playing this one uphill. Most of the things that makes it do that on this particular shot, it's not really that we're playing uphill, it's more that we are landing it into the rough, pretty thick rough, and then rolling a long time until we get towards the pin. Hole number 3, we're gonna play straight down the right hand side in any wind direction that is crosswind or headwind. If we do have a straight tailwind, I would recommend to blast it down the left hand side. However, that was not found in practice, and therefore I cannot use that as a reference. But that's going to be a way of going at it if we are getting a tailwind. So now, ball bouncing on the fairway, getting it down to roll. Here I would recommend to push it harder if you do have the balls to do that, and the reason for that is that the closer we are to the end of the rough, the better chance it's going to be, because then we're going to have to play with a long iron, but in this case we're going to have to play with a wood club. Now, having headwind is going to remove the chances of playing a rough bump, which would be my preferred way of attacking the pin. Attacking the pin by bouncing over the rough and the sand is going to only be happening in headwind if you are not long enough with your drive. It's not the recommended way of playing to get the most amount of albatrosses, but it's going to be the most secure way of locking in the eagles. So either going for the rough bump to have a better albatross chance, or to just bounce on the fairway. If you're bouncing on the fairway, you're playing at 10% elevation and true club distance. If you go for the rough bump, you play minus 5% elevation instead. So the difference in elevation is very important to have in mind, because obviously when it is to play with a rough bump instead of bouncing on fairway, there's always going to be an elevation difference to be absolutely correct. So tough but makeable chance on hole 3. I would consider hole number 3 to be the most makeable albatross there is, and that just tells you, that will tell you how hard the upcoming par 5s will be of the Wiseacre. Hole number 8 is going to be a par 5 that we've been playing many times, and it's almost always the same type of play, or the same type of to play nowadays with all the topspin boosts. But let's take a look at the more normal way of playing this hole, because this is going to be the way of playing if having any type of wind besides a straight tailwind. Quarterback is what I'm starting with. If I would be having headwind, I would be playing with the rock instead, just to give myself a couple of more yards of power, max plus 10, and I'm using a side spin 3 ball, either a katana or a kingmaker, to make sure that I don't have to go with a lot of curl, which could complicate things if we are unlucky. Bounces on the fairway over to the next fairway, and from here we're gonna play a sniper towards the pin. So you could hear me say that we're gonna play this type of way in any type of wind besides a straight tailwind, and that's because with a straight tailwind we can push harder on our drive to use a club with a lot of topspin to bounce on that fairway that we are ending up on now, and then try to get the ball to green. And obviously the different topspin boost balls and stuff like that will come very handy here if you do have any of those to spare. Second shot, once again, it's going to be the sniper. It's going to be somewhere between medium and maximum distance of our club, or let's say somewhere between minimum and maximum distance of our club. So check where maximum club are, check where minimum club are, and then make a call to what you believe the club distance is going to be. The spins here will vary depending on what wind direction we're having. I like to use a little bit of left spin here, try to avoid being as close to the rough line on the left. The ball guideline short always if there is tailwind, but maybe not this short that I'm having here on the video, because I'm truly going a little bit heavy on that offset. 10% elevation, true distance number, and even though this is a possible drop, I would say having to play with a sniper from distance is not going to be a drop that you're going to drop all the time, because there is bumps on that fairway, there is a lot of things that can happen when it comes to playing a wood club from far distance. However though, hole number 8 shouldn't be a problem to get the eagle, and the albatross is there to be claimed. For the drive on hole number 9, we are going to play on the right hand side. Many of the times, there will be times where we can play on the left hand side, but we are dependent on, if so, having tailwind. So now when having headwind, we're gonna play down the right using as much topspin that you possibly can. I'm using the driver with the most power and topspin that I do have on this account. Max overpower here, as the headwind will obviously not be helpful in the sense of giving us more power, so I'm using the overpower to push the ball as far up with my first bounce. And now we're gonna just lay up. We are far away from the water and the rough, which obviously is good, so there is no risk in getting into the rough or into the sand at the top there, even if you would be having more topspin than the 6 bars I do have on my extra mile. Now the second shot is just going to be to transport the ball to the green area. Be careful here so you're not rolling into the rough or the rough sand that is there by the tree, by the green. So I'm trying to use a little side spin and also a decent amount of top spin here. I'm using more or less all the top spin on my Cataclysm level 4 here. Playing on this fairway before the rough there, not trying to go over the rough, is gonna be a medium distance plus 10 adjustment. If we would be having room to go over the rough there at the top, then we would be playing it max plus 10, but there will be very few times, especially if having headwind of T, where we can actually do so. Great right makes me become a little bit lucky, because I roll, and I actually roll through the rough here and having a nice and short easy wedge for an eagle. So to summarize, in headwind we're playing for an eagle only. In crosswind and tailwind we can play over on the left by using a lot of topspin, such as a big topper play with a power 5 ball, or just playing with a big board driver or something like that. That would get you over, and then you have a long iron or you have a wood club towards the pin. So in the end here, this is hole number 9, tough one to get anything else than an eagle. Hole number 3, it's a tough wind here, and you can play this hole in many different ways, in my opinion. I wanted to show a little bit more aggressive one where you play with a special ball here, the Ryder Cup ball to be more exact. That is a power 5 side spin to wind 4 ball. Starting at the top of plus 10, and we are using 7 top spin and 1 right spin. Adjustment is max plus 10 power 3. If you do adjust into overpower, then you will have to apply whatever overpower you adjust into, which is not going to happen with this type of ball and Apocalypse level 6 plus, but it could happen with an Extra Mile level 9, it could happen with a Thor's Hammer, and it could also happen if you decide to play with a Wind 3 ball such as a Luminary. Instead, it's not going to be much overpower, but at least it's important to have in mind. We're looking to get to around 370 yards. The rollout could be different, obviously, depending on what type of glitch roll you're getting on that fairway. Second shot, we're gonna play in this instance with the sniper. I'm kind of torn between, should I play with the sniper here or should I go with a Guardian backspin shot? In the video, I'm going obviously with the sniper, trying to do a rollback by using the little sticky spot that is on the back. But the problem we have here is to find the correct landing spot. So I would recommend to try to find a consistent spot with your bullseye to start with, and then apply all the backspin and then the left spin to get the ball guideline as we want. Because my problem here and my mistake here is that I'm starting too much right. Looking at, for those of you that do have our guide, looking at the guide, we should be positioned at least 1.5 to 2 rings more left than what I am here, and that's what the reason as well why I'm missing on the right hand side with this shot. We're playing based on yardage as it is a linear hole, and I'm playing this one 22% slider as a base with 10% elevation P3 numbers from 372 yards. Tough one with this wind once again, but to be able to get a chance, you kind of need to set it up properly, which I didn't do here on this video. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching this playthrough for Pro and Expert division here with various wins. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Also, make sure to hit the thumbs up button before you leave. Scan the QR code here on the screen or use the link patreon.com/golfclashtommy that is in the description down below. That will take you to our premium guides where you can subscribe and start improving your game today. Thank you once again for watching. I wish you the best of luck in your Golf Clash game.